Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Shanus, and today we're again in the trunk of the Tucson because we're actually going to go on a road trip real soon, and what better time than to install one of the biggest essentials, again, for a GDI vehicle, and that is an oil catch can. Again, ADDW1 was gracious enough to give us their V3.3 kit, but due to popular demand, you guys wanted to see the carbon fiber version, so carbon fiber it is. I know, wifey gets all the nice stuff, huh? Let's get straight into it. Alright, so we're in the back, and you'll see the usual suspect. We have two sets of pliers, a Phillips head screwdriver, a lot larger ratchet than I normally use, and some Allen keys. The reason being is that the actual mounting bracket for this catch can kit bolts onto where a motor mount bolt is. So you will require, in this sense, a size 17 socket, as you can see clearly right there. And I'll show you guys exactly where that's located. I won't lie, this wrench will probably not be enough. So you'll need a breaker bar and obviously quite a bit of force. If you're not quite strong, which it's okay because I felt like I was a little weak myself, you'll probably need to go with like an impact wrench or take it to a shop to help you out with this, but I'll show you guys exactly where it's located. So before we get started, coming straight from the engine bay, so this is straight right here, you're gonna hook down here to the left, and you'll see that bolt right there is a 17. So that's what we need to do. All right, so now as you can see, it's mounted in there nice and properly. I did have to get the neighbor to help me out because he had power tools and I don't, but it's mounted nice and firmly. Mounted it this way just to make sure the can clears, because if you can see right here, this is an AC hose. Had I mounted it the way I originally wanted to, the can wouldn't sit properly. It would like not be able to be mountable. So this case, it's over here on the side, and I'm quite literally gonna mount it. Just push this line a little back, and it's going to be bolted on like so. So let's get straight into that. The Allen wrench size that you need to remove these bolts is a 2.5. So actually, one little minor note, and forgive the wind, it's a little windy even though it's super hot. So as you can see, I've tightened these up. These again are kind of larger bolts, so if you don't have proper tools of all sorts of sizes, well, that's fine. What you want to do is you'll actually want to put the actual threaded piece inside one of the hoses that's provided and just insert it. So right now it's as far in as it can go, but if you actually use the hose for leverage, it'll let you tighten it past the point that you're normally able to. So forgive my shoddy camera work, but it keeps on blurring out, but it allows me to tighten it more. And essentially it gave me enough leverage to tighten past the point that normal hand strength it allows you to, again, if you don't have the proper tools to tighten these. So just a nice little neat trick, tips and tricks for you guys to kind of get this done with minimal tools. So the oil catch can, as you can see, is now mounted, and the hose for the coolant reservoir, it looks like, is over here, so no issues there. Now we're just going to go ahead and direct the hoses. The one that's going to be going in here, which is considered the intake or the import, will actually be this hose right here, PCV. Again, a little different layout from the Velosters, and then the first outlet will be going straight back into the intake manifold, and then this one will go to the intake side, which is somewhere yonder, so we'll get to that right now. So a few updates on the install process. The intake side hose, or the one that's coming from the PCV, is a 9mm, so it's pretty even to go, and the hose isn't long enough to go around this, so I went behind it, and I actually tucked the hose underneath here so it's not getting in the way, and straight into here, 9mm to 9mm, so that's fine. The one first thing you're going to notice is that this right here is 9mm, but it's supposed to go back here, and this down here is actually more like a 15mm. So what I'm going to do is I have the hose that's 9mm that's going to go to the catch can with the check valve installed, and what I actually did was I actually cut a piece from the original hose that goes 9mm as well, but ends up being larger, like a 15. So I'm gonna put these together, reassemble, and I'm gonna show you what that looks like. All right, so after a little bit of work, just cutting, this is that hose that I was mentioning, and of course, wifey had to go fancy with the nice hose clamps. Again, here's the check valve. Always, always, always make sure that the arrow is pointing in the direction of the airflow. So again, we have the arrow pointing towards the right, and then here is that larger 15mm size hose. Everything is clamped down properly, so now we're just gonna install it. All right, so on the last update, we basically did the main hose that comes from here the PCV, and as you can see, we routed it under these electrical cables and right behind the washer fluid inlet, and as you can see, it's right there. We still haven't bolted these two down, don't worry, we have fanciness coming for it. But the output, again, we went down here, and there's a check valve, which is, as you guys saw earlier, pointed going back into the intake manifold. The last part is the 15mm side, which is the larger side, going once again with the check valve. And as you can see, the arrow pointing in the right direction, going. I also fed this one through underneath the electrical wires, again, to just kind of tidy things up. And I actually fed it underneath the PCV hose, and it goes all the way to where the intake is, where you have a traditional clamp. Here, I'll zoom in so you can see. Now, the part that's left is here. Originally, there was a hose connected from here over going there. So this is the part that will vent to atmosphere, where we have the nice little breather filter that's still in its packaging. We're gonna unpack it, put that on, make sure that the clamps are on here, and then just finish up and make sure that the engine cover also fits on top nicely. So let's go. All right, so the breather's on and it's aesthetically pleasing. Gotta love the ADDW1 logo on it. However, the only little note I wanted to include is that, as you'll notice, it doesn't seat all the way down, and that's because there's this obtruding, but as well there's this. I have yet to see if the engine cover will properly sit on this with that added attachment. Otherwise, if I do want the engine cover sitting on it, I will more than likely have to do something similar that what I did with the Veloster, is have a little extension hose and maybe have the breather either come out somewhere over here or hang off the back side. But as I mentioned, the original stock hose, which is right here, actually goes like that and out the back and hang, and originally connected here. So I may just reuse this so it's kind of nice and hanging over here, kind of like a little cleaner, just in case the engine cover doesn't sit. So let's find out. And guess what, guys? The engine cover fit perfectly. I'm really happy. So I didn't have to do the extra hose bypassing over here. And as you can see, it's fully clamped down. The last thing that I need to do, and never forget, is put back the oil dipstick, make sure it's screwed on, and beautiful blue clamps with a carbon fiber oil catch can, thanks to ADDW1 on the brand new 2020 Tucson 2.4 liter engine. Love it. So let's see the finished product. Alright guys, so that about wraps up the oil catch can install for the 2.4 liter Tucson. And this is a perfect guide for anybody who has any other KDM vehicle that has a naturally aspirated engine, whether it's like the 2.0 or the 2.4 and this one. They route very similar. Obviously, if you kind of want to see a similar routing to a turbo engine, like the 1.6 turbo Tucson in the previous generation, I would probably suggest looking at the Veloster install, as those are very similar. The last note that I would make is that in the end, as you saw, I did have Allen wrenches. I mentioned that I used a 2.5 for the bolts on the actual catch can, and while that is definitely correct, the actual special colored clamps required a 3 on the Allen wrench sizes. So just make sure that you guys have a set so you can get everything tidy. If you decide to not opt for the extra fancy clamps, that's fine. You're just going to need either a flathead or a Phillips, and I personally suggest the Phillips. It's just, it feels like it just tightens a little better and it's a lot easier to do. But that about wraps things up, guys. Forgive me for not looking extremely charming or pleasant. Like I said, we're experiencing a heat wave, and that first bolt to mount the bracket was a pain. So again, if you don't have a breaker bar, you might need a little bit of assistance at least to get that mounted. And just keep in mind the configuration, because like I mentioned, had I done it the original way I wanted to, the can would not have cleared the AC hose that's right there. So just be mindful of these little things. But as always, guys, thank you for all the love and support. I promise that the next video will more than likely be geared towards the Veloster. We are coming up on anniversary dates, so I have a lot of updates to give you guys regarding just my overall opinion of owning the car now that I've had it for 4 years, and once more my overall opinion of a lot of the mods that we've done from year one all the way till now. You'll be shocked at some of the updates that I have for you guys. So as always, thanks for all the love and support. Stay tuned for those next videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Oh yeah, guys, it looks a whole lot more abundant on the rears. So success, job done, super clean.